So today I'm here to speak to you about whether affiliates can still make money from selling flights in 2019, with a particular focus on new entrants, but without forgetting about more established affiliates. Guys, I will give you an overview of the airline industry, and I'm also actually going to I'm going to be brave enough to make some future predictions that I believe that you can benefit from as affiliates. Now, the reason why I chose this topic was because in my 9 years experience in digital marketing, I've actually, unfortunately, met a lot of people that don't believe that the affiliate channel will give them opportunities, right? Whether it's airlines that don't even have affiliate programs, or OTAs that neglect them, or affiliates that just think that the commissions are so low that there's nothing in there for them. And I think it's a real shame, but let's face it, flying just isn't sexy anymore. Now, I don't know about you guys, but have you seen this movie? Let's have a show of hands. Have you seen the movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks? I see some of you have. So this movie is about a con man who is impersonating a Pan Am Airlines pilot in the golden age of aviation, right? And he leads, throughout most of the movie, he leads a very glamorous lifestyle until it all goes very badly for him. But when I watch this movie, I look at it and I think to myself, wow, how did we go from that to flying with Ryanair and EasyJet and Pobeda and Gol and all these low-cost airlines? What happened to aviation, right? And the truth is that, yes, airlines and aviation in general has lost some of its glitz. But it's also as true that it's never been as accessible as it is today. And there are many, many opportunities for affiliates who can understand how technology and market forces are shaping this industry right now. So, I want to give you some context about the airline industry, first of all. And the first thing you need to understand is that this is an industry with very high costs. I'm not just talking about fuel, which is the obvious one that everyone will be thinking about, but I'm thinking also about computer systems, maintenance costs, staff. The cost of an Airbus A320 is $100 million US. So imagine how many flights airlines have to make it profitable. It's also the airline industry is also very highly regulated. In the UK, where I'm from, we have the CAA that oversee everything from pilot licenses, air traffic controllers, and even the noise impacts that aircraft produce. Obviously, we do need regulation. It adds to safety in aviation. But as you can imagine, it also stifles innovation. Now, air ticket prices are going down all the time. They're not going up. They're getting cheaper and cheaper. And this obviously has an impact on the margins that airlines have, on their profit margins. And it has a very direct impact on the commissions that you as affiliates can earn. Flying has become a commodity. Most people, when they book their flight tickets, only care about two things, which is schedule and price. They don't really care too much about which airline they fly with. And it's an industry that is notorious for being subject to shocks. And what I mean is things like oil prices going up and down. Everyone knows about what happened with the Boeing 737-8 MAX in the last year, etc. Now, this can wipe out profits overnight. There is also a general mistrust of intermediaries. There are lots of intermediaries in the airline industry. I'll go into that in a bit. I've already mentioned the slow innovation. And it has a very direct impact on the environment. Airlines are being blamed for the increase in carbon, in CO2 emissions around the world, and rightly so. But this is a very complex issue. And guys, I want you to think for a second about how we book our flight tickets is changing all the time. Your parents would have gone to a shop, sat down, speaking to an agent. This agent would have booked a flight ticket for them. We have now gotten used to, through our computers and smart devices, to book flight tickets ourselves. And it's likely that our children are going to be talking using natural language to some AI-powered device. Think, Alexa, please book a flight so I can go and see my sister next weekend. It's her birthday. That's what it's going to be like. And this is the current status quo that we have in the airline industry. We have, on the one side, we have airlines, which represent the supply side, with obviously the seats and the prices of those seats. On the other side, we have the demand, which is represented by OTAs. OTAs actually take away some of the costs, some of the marketing costs from airlines, and they understand customers very well, much better than airlines do. In some markets, such as China, they actually represent 80% of all air ticket sales. And in between, you have the GDSs. GDSs are global distribution systems. Now, these global distribution systems, or GDSs, are actually centralized electronic platforms that allow for real-time transactions to take place, and they connect the supply side and the demand. Now, at the moment, you have these three major players, Amadeus, Sabre, and Travelport. You also have some local players, such as is the case in Russia, where you have Sirena. And this relationship, this three-way relationship that you have between airlines, OTAs, and GDSs is starting to see a few cracks. And what I mean by this is airlines are actually pulling away from GDSs, or they are charging people an additional fee for booking through an OTA. Airlines have also created their own GDS, which is called NDC. I think it stands for New Distribution Capabilities. And airlines, as you can see, are trying to own their customers. They are encouraging people to book direct with them. In order to do this, they are actually massively turning to the retail industry in order to better present themselves and their services to their customers. Personalization is also part of the plan, so think about highly tailored, real-time offers, giving the customer what he or she wants when he or she wants. Tech giants, of course, are very important. Google is probably one of the most important business partners that we as an OTA have and that most OTAs have, but it also represents a threat. And then you have meta search engines and OTAs that are reinventing themselves and innovating on a massive scale. Then, of course, what will regulators do? Are they going to come in and say, no, you can't create this new GDS? Are they going to try to put if the Googles and Facebooks of this world become too powerful, are they going to come in and stop them? That's a big question mark. Nobody knows. Now, among the innovators that I was talking about is my company, or the company that I work for, which is Kiwi.com. Now, Kiwi.com was founded 7 years ago as SkyPicker. Some of you may have known it as SkyPicker. And it's based upon one very simple premise, which is virtual interlining. Now, what is virtual interlining is we connect airlines that are not connected to each other. We do have an affiliate program, by the way. It's available on Travelpayouts. Our CPA is actually much higher than the average in the industry. It's 3%. And this here is an example of virtual interlining. So here you have two different airlines into one booking. So this guy here went from Adana to Prague via Antalya. And this is all one booking, as I said. You don't need to worry about flying with different airlines. And we also have the Kiwi.com guarantee, which basically means that if you miss your flight, we will either refund you or put you onto another flight for free. Other innovators in the space, two of them here have affiliate programs, by the way, Omeo and Rome to Rio. Skip Lag, they show you these hidden airfares. It's very useful in the US. What it is that you can actually, say you want to fly from New York to Los Angeles, you want to fly from New York to Atlanta, and you find that the fare is actually cheaper to fly from New York to Los Angeles via Atlanta, so you only take the first leg of the trip, and you skip the last leg, hence the name, right? Omeo are comparing flight, trains, and buses in one. This is especially useful in Europe. For instance, if you want to go from London to Paris, they'll be offering you trains, buses, and flights. So you can decide what's best for you. Are you going to go on, the cheapest option or the fastest, etc. Rome to Rio is a great site. It's kind of like Google Maps, but a bit different. And their aim is to basically find you the best way on how to get from A to B. We have Hopper as well, which is an interesting app. They actually pride themselves in having this AI that actually calculates flights, or predicts the price of flights. And then, of course, you have Hipmunk, which is a meta search engine that became really famous a few years ago because they had this agony filter. So they tried to present flights in a different way, so not just all entirely based on price, but also on convenience. Now, I'm going to go and try to predict the future for you guys. And the first thing that I want to say is that I don't know whether Amazon, Facebook, Google, here in Russia you have Yandex. I don't know whether it's going to be game, set, and match for them in the future, but I do know that they're going to be major players in the future in the travel space. Airline consolidation will continue, especially in Europe. In the last year, we have seen Primera Air and WOW Air disappear. Last week in the UK, we had Thomas Cook go bust. OTAs and meta search engines will converge, are converging, either through acquisitions or either by meta search engines becoming OTAs. We're also seeing an airline brand revolution, so airlines are wanting to sell people lots and lots of new services, and as a result, they're focusing on building their brand. We're all going to be given choices to go premium, and what I mean by this is actually there's a very interesting case in point with Emirates earlier this year unbundling their business class fares. So you can now select, the different elements of business class that you're most interested in. Then obviously it's going to be very interesting to see what the battle between NDC and GDS, how it plays out. It will potentially empower airlines. It could also fragment the market. And these three here, these are a bit more sort of wild guesses more than anything else. But, I believe that in our lifetime we will see drone flights, so like air taxis. I believe we will also see a return of Mach 2 flights. So I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Concorde that we used to have up until a few years ago in the UK and France. And this is even more wild, but I think we will actually also see Hyperloop becoming a reality in our lifetimes. And of course, what does this all mean for affiliates, which is why we're all here, right? The first thing you need to understand is that companies will disappear from the consolidation that I was talking about. As affiliates, this is very important to you because you need to be on top of the news. If you start to see a company hitting the news headlines for all the wrong reasons, be aware of this because it may be that next month you won't get paid. Okay. Acquiring traffic is going to become, and is already becoming, more expensive. This is a trend that we already see today, and it's a trend that we will continue to say, guys, organic just isn't going to cut it anymore. Oh, okay. Customer lifetime value will come into focus, and what I mean by this is brands such as ours are not just looking at the sales that an affiliate can drive, but we're also looking at what the impact or or the long-term value of new users, and this means new attribution models. And the end of last click. I don't know what's wrong with this presentation. Okay. We're also seeing new affiliate payout models. And as I said, I mentioned the end of last click. This is something that we are already doing at Kiwi and that we expect to continue doing in the future. Brand development will be expected from you as affiliates. When I go and meet my top affiliates, I'm not just asking them, bring me sales. I'm actually talking to them and I'm saying, how can you help my brand grow? How can you help me develop my brand? How can I create brand awareness through you? You are no longer just affiliates. You shouldn't see yourselves as just affiliates. You are marketing partners. We work very strategically with our top affiliates on a variety of KPIs. I kind of touched upon this already, but we will see a diversification of commissions as we are buying more complex products. We will see the affiliate commissions become more complex as well. You're also going to be expected to personalize or at least segment your offers. And I also expect to see high commissions available for different bundles. So if someone buys a flight and an airport shuttle from a given website, then they will be getting paid more for that. Or say a flight and a train, or a flight plus a class upgrade, or a flight plus extra baggage, etc. And this creates a massive amount of commercial opportunities for affiliates. Here are some affiliates that I know, that I work with, that are very successful. They're already active, as I said, and very successful with some great ideas. These are great. These are travel deals blogs. These in the different countries. Travel Free is based in Latvia, but they serve the whole of Europe. Holiday Guru serve different countries as well. Urlaubs Piraten, etc., etc., etc. And they basically post flight deals every day. This is great because for us at Kiwi, it helps us to be associated with budget flights and great deals, etc. Weather to Travel is probably one of the oldest affiliates that I know of in the UK, and Colin, which is the name of the guy, his website is such a great idea because it's based around the premise of where can I find good weather when I go on holidays, right? Who doesn't want to find good weather when they go on holidays? Then you also have Jack's Flight Club. They have a very unique business model because it's a subscription service. So you subscribe, you pay for a subscription, and you get these email newsletters with their flight deals. Flight Connections is interesting because it's basically just a map. And you see all the direct connections around the world for flights, but they've got some decent traffic as well. Turning Left for Less is a great website. They focus on basically business class deals. The Points Guy is another cool website that actually talk a lot about all these little tips and tricks on how to gain air miles so you can travel business class for free and this and that. And Quel Billet is a nice website originating in France. It actually started off as a ticket exchange platform for trains because in France, if, say, you buy a train ticket and you're not able to travel anymore, you can actually go onto this website and sell it. So it's like a second-hand market. They also have lots of other things available. They have flights, etc., etc., etc. Other affiliate ideas that I think could be really interesting, I don't have any specific cases for, are travel-only cashback and other incentives. I think that if you had a cashback site that was travel only, I think you would be able to command more premium commissions, etc. Business and first class flight deals, I think that especially now as airlines are unbundling all their business classes and premium economy and so on, people are going to want a little bit extra. they're going to want to pay a little bit extra, but they want to have a deal at the same time, right? So if you focus on that, there could be a huge potential there for you. Ancillary, so this is everything that is beyond, the flight seat. So it could be things like priority boarding, airport lounge access, etc. People will want to know how can they get a good deal on these sort of things. And environmentally friendly travel, I already said that there are some websites that are giving people options like, can I take a train or a bus instead of a flight? As people become more and more concerned about the environment, it's going to be a really good idea to actually offer them alternatives to flying. And of course, bear in mind that, you're not just selling we are not selling either just flights. You're selling a dream, you're selling an inspiration, right? And I think this goes hand in hand with what influencers do, right? Also, natural language search and match. There was a website a few years ago called Zap Travel in the UK. Basically, you would go on there and say, I want to go on a holiday and go surfing or something, and it will actually match it with a holiday package. Flights and holiday gifting. It could be things like just a gift. Basically, like a holiday weekend somewhere. And you don't actually need to have a deal. This is also very important. Most, in the affiliate world, there's a lot of incentivized traffic. People are always focused on deals and last-minute offers, etc. You don't have to have this. There's some very, very good websites out there. There's one that I can think of, which is moneysavingexpert.com in the UK. It's mostly a finance website, but they also have a travel section, and they have lots and lots of amazing tips on, how can you save money here, and, what would be the best place to go and visit, and this and that, right? And then, of course, a very interesting case in point is on-site optimization affiliates. So these, I also call them technology partners because they actually help advertisers to optimize sales on their own website. There are a number of them. And of course, think about your niche. What's your niche? Is it LGBTQ? Is it spiritual holidays, senior travel, etc., right? You have to think about your niche. You won't be able to cater to all the people out there, but think about what you're good at. And I also want to talk to you briefly about the rise of influencers. Now, influencers has been on the rise in the last few years, and it sits really well in the affiliate channel. A lot of companies are actually allocating budgets to influencers. There are some issues with influencers, like how do you measure the success of a campaign is still an issue. There are also some issues on, accountability and transparency. Are you seeing an ad? Is it being made clear to you that you're seeing an ad? And I do see Instagram and YouTube maturing, but there are some new opportunities with TikTok and Pinterest and even Snapchat. As I said, we as a company work with influencers. We have budgets for influencers. And it is a great opportunity as well for those of you out there who use social media. I'm not sure, however, if you started today from scratch. Because it is maturing as well as an industry. I'm not sure how that would play out. But as I said, there are actually new social media like TikTok and Pinterest. There could be opportunities there. So just to conclude, yes, the airline industry faces many challenges, and this will have a direct impact on affiliates. So keep an eye on news headlines, on airlines going bust and all sorts of things, and try to see if a merchant or an airline is actually trying to create brand equity, etc. How can you help them as affiliates? And I also want to say, so earning money from selling flights isn't easy, but when was it anyways, right? It was never easy, guys. I mean, we're facing a different reality now because of the technology that we have, but it was never easy. So influencers, I also highlighted that because I think it's such a great area to be involved in at the moment. But how will it continue? Will it be on the rise? Is it maturing? I'd also like to throw that question out there. And to me, my personal opinion, I think the biggest opportunities right now are in ancillaries. So again, as I was saying, things like priority boarding, airport lounge access, etc. That's where I think, so beyond the flight tickets themselves, I think ancillaries is an area where you should be focusing on at the moment. So, as I said, there are many, many opportunities out there. It's never been easier for affiliates to get, to get a website started, etc., and to actually help us, OTAs like us, to sell flights. So, just know your niche, understand the market. People are going to continue to travel. So think about the customer. Always think about the customer, because that will give you ideas for and opportunities that you can benefit from. And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, give some noise to Mark, our first English speaker today. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing a lot of insights and your own thoughts on affiliate program. By the way, is that true that you're an affiliate with Travelpayouts?
Yes, we are.
Oh.
We've been working with you guys, I think, for the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, as Kiwi.com.
Oh, sorry, me as an affiliate.
Yes,
sorry, I
didn't.
didn't. Yes, I am. It's a project I have on the side. I have this blog myself. I can't say I'm very successful at it, because if I was, I wouldn't be working for Kiwi. I'd be only just working for myself. But I do have one here.
Okay, cool. So, are you ready to answer a couple of questions?
Yes.
Yeah. Вы можете задавать свои вопросы на русском, я постараюсь их перевести, поэтому если у вас есть вопросы, поднимайте руку. Окей, у нас есть один вопрос, пожалуйста. I'll try to translate from Russian to English.
Можно, на русском. Меня конкретно интересует Средняя Азия, а именно количество запросов в Среднюю Азию, в Россию на поезда и авиабилеты. И что касается автобусов, есть такие перевозки в Среднюю Азию в автобусы. У них нет на сайте, планируют ли они вести?
Какая конкретно страна интересует?
Средняя Азия, в общем.
В общем, окей. Do you plan on adding more routes on bus and flights to Middle Asia? Do you work with this region?
To Asia in particular?
Yeah.
I mean, look, we cover the whole world. We're a global company. The end objective of Kiwi is to become a virtual super carrier. So at the moment, most of what we do is flights, right? But we want to actually be able to take the customer from their house to their hotel, right? We want them to book a taxi, we want them to book a train, a bus, a flight, etc. So that's our ultimate goal. As to which part of the world, again, we're global. So, of course, Middle East, Asia, Southeast Asia, we're interested, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also have a question in our app. What is what is the main advantage of Kiwi.com in comparison with Aviasales or Skyscanner on Russia and CIS markets?
In Russian markets?
Russia and CIS, yep.
Okay. Well, again, it goes back to the virtual interlining. We were the first ones to pioneer this, and I think we are still the best ones. We're able to connect airlines that are unconnected, so we can connect an Aeroflot flight with a Pobeda flight, or Iberia with LATAM, or American Airlines with Lufthansa, etc., etc., etc. So, and we do this, we in one booking. So, as a customer, you don't need to worry about the fact that you're taking 2 separate flights with 2 different airlines, And we also have the Kiwi guarantee, which is, obviously great, in case, there's a cancellation or something like that. So
Yeah, and the main difference in that Kiwi.com is an online travel agency, when Aviasales and Skyscanner is meta search agent.
of course,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the main difference between meta search engines and OTAs like us, right? We take payment from the customer. If something goes wrong, we have to deal with that, right? So yeah.
Cool. Another question. It would be great to have Kiwi.com API as one of the promo tools. Any plans on adding it in your program on Travelpayouts?
We'll see about that. We'd like that as well, of course. But, we see technology improvements step by step. They're gradual, right? So, yeah, we'd like that as well.
Okay, and you mentioned that you work with a lot of international publishers,
We
in
do.
your presentation. Do you work on API basis with some of them?
Yeah, we do. Some of the major drivers of traffic to our site use APIs. Meta search engines, basically. So, yeah.
Okay, got it. So you're really hoping we'll add it soon to your Travelpayouts also. Another question, it's actually a big pain point for affiliate channel. Do you plan to forbid cashback traffic in your affiliate channel? Many of the advertisers, for instance Kayak, did it, and it's a good thing because they say that cashbacks cannibalize irrelevant affiliate traffic.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question was, do you plan to forbid cashback traffic in your affiliate channel?
No, we don't. Basically. No, I mean, I'm a great believer in cashback. I think that what we're starting to see in markets such as the UK and Western Europe is we're starting to see cashback models converge. So we're starting to see cashback guys doing vouchers guys doing cashback, vouchers guys doing content, etc., etc., etc. And I think that it's a necessary step for the industry. Not just for the cashback sites, but I think for us as well. Because as I said, when we talk to our top affiliates, we're not just saying, oh, bring me sales. No, we're saying, hey, how can you help me build brand equity? How can you help me bring brand awareness? So, yeah. I love cashback sites, by the way. So, yeah.
Okay.
Of course, I mean, like everything else, we don't just want to do cashback through the affiliate channel. We want to do, and we have lots of different types of publishers. But yeah, I love cashback sites. Of course, they'll continue working with us for a long time to come.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's it for questions for Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. Спасибо.